Hello, dear viewers around the world. Welcome to the Hanover Messe event. I am Yuri Gomez, Worldwide Manufacturing Leader of Business Strategy at Microsoft. I will be the host for this session. It is my pleasure to lead this panel where you will be hearing about the latest thinking of some of the most impactful supply chain areas where Microsoft and its partner ecosystem are enabling rapid digital transformation to enhance critical supply chain operations, such as integrated business planning, warehouse automation, and optimized last mile delivery. Today, I have the true privilege to have three of our most trusted partners at Microsoft, with whom we are working together to create more resilient supply chains across the different industries and around the world. I have the great pleasure to have with me in this panel O9 Solutions, Geek Plus, and FarEye. Thank you all for joining us today. Why don't we start with an introduction of your roles, your companies, and a few highlights of the services your company provides and some of the market presence. Where are you located, where you provide services?
Thank you very much, Yuri. Appreciate that. And thank you, everyone else. FarEye is a global SaaS provider of visibility and predictability of goods in transit. More importantly than simply knowing where things are at, FarEye provides predictability or ETAs for enhanced planning and customer satisfaction. Our three core products include what we call RTTV, which is real-time in-transit visibility, our last mile solution, and our customer experience. We provide solutions to manufacturers around the globe, but we also provide solutions to retailers and supply chain organizations. My role is I'm the global lead of technology partnerships, so I work with many very large technology partners, of course, Microsoft, which is with Yuri here. So thank you again, and looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you, Larry, so much. Stefan?
Awesome. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Stefan de Bars. I'm EVP at O9 and run our global commercial organization. O9 is an AI-powered platform that is helping organizations with better planning and decision-making. So think about connecting all the different data sources from inside and outside your enterprise, turning that data into knowledge, and then applying analytics and planning to drive better decisions. So examples. How do I better predict demand based on leading indicators of demand? Or how do I do demand and supply synchronization in real time? So the moment there is a disruption in the supply chain, I immediately understand what the implication is and how to respond. Or connecting revenue, demand, and supply chain with each other so that I can run business scenarios and understand the impact on my P&L. Pleasure being with you here, Yuri, and the other panelists, and looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much. That really sounds fantastic. I really, when I think about supply chain and I really think about the power of integrated business planning, that's an awesome capability. So thank you for the introduction. And what about you, Mark? What are you doing at Geek Plus?
Hi, I'm Mark Messina. I'm the COO of Geek Plus. Pleasure to be here with Larry and Stefan and Yuri as well. Thank you to the audience for taking the time to hear us. I am with Geek Plus. We're a Beijing-based multinational robotics provider for logistics, warehousing, and manufacturing environments. We have more than 300 sites around the world in 20 different countries, operating 14,000 of our robots that are built in our owned and operated factory. And our systems greatly reduce the dependence on labor and instability within those markets and within those environments. We continue to develop with more than 900 staff, 450 of which are dedicated to R&D. And it's a pleasure to chat here with everybody from Hanover Messe about these systems.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Mark. So let's get started with a few interesting trends and stats on supply chain. One interesting fact about supply chains is that organizations across multiple industries have been mainly focused on gaining operational efficiencies and operating leaner over the last decade. The problem with that is that they also, in their attempt to really operate leaner, they also have not been very good at managing disruptions. So with the COVID-19 pandemic, what has happened is that supply chains now really have been through extreme disruptions. And now they need to really understand better practices and trends, how to respond and recover faster, as well as preparing for a more sustainable business continuity, and also a way that they can anticipate disruptions ahead of time. So now, with that in mind, I am very, very curious to learn about critical capability. So, Stefan, you mentioned integrated business planning. And I think when I think about the need to connect internal data and external data to really predict better trends in the marketplace, that's really critical. Can you please expand about this capability, what it does, and what makes you so proud about this?
No, absolutely. I think maybe a couple of core capabilities to highlight. One, it starts with the data, but not only the data that's inside an enterprise today. What we need to be looking for is, the external data sources that can help us understanding the behavior of our customers, but also supply disruptions. So that is critical to get to different type of data sources. And as part of our offering, we provide a lot of those external data points. Second is then what do you do with it? Those data feeds then into the machine learning algorithms to, for instance, better predict demand or do inventory planning and so forth. But the moment we have done that, so we have a lot of the data, we are now doing ML forecasting, we get a better signal. The question is, but then can the supply chain support? So having the ability to build a full digital twin of the supply chain, modeling all the costs and constraints, and then doing the demand and supply synchronization with the ability to run scenarios is critical. So assume there is this big vessel. Luckily, it's sailing again, but that was stuck in the Suez Canal. The question is, right, what is the impact on my supply chain? Which demand will be impacted? Right, what will be the ripple effect of this? So the ability to run scenarios, understand those trade-offs, and make faster and better decisions is all what O9 is about.
Oh, I think that's super fantastic. And I think that really, when I think about how companies are leveraging these new solutions, especially for the customers that we've been deploying these solutions, the impact is tremendous. So thank you so much for sharing. So Mark, I think when I think about warehousing, and especially with this pandemic, so many things are happening where perhaps even labor is already at risk because perhaps many people are thinking, what about my health? So tell me about what Geek Plus is doing to enable warehouse automation.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Yuri and Larry, their data and their organizations impact sort of on a global scale, the macro of logistics, right? You can see the impact of the data from their business changing the way physical things move and ships are moving in canals and around canals, et cetera. What Geek Plus is really strong with is in the micro space within the warehouse or the factory itself. So even though we are known for our robotics, the core of our system is really the software platform that applies artificial intelligence and machine learning to adapt and adjust to the changes within the warehouse. So as a result of the pandemic, as you mentioned, employees and associates are really concerned about health, and actually so are customers, right? Is an employee in a warehouse potentially infecting the package that they're getting delivered? Our systems are, with regards to COVID, are very capable in the fact that we don't send labor into the warehouse to walk up and down aisles. The labor stands and the robots deliver the inventory to the associate. So the robot is doing what it's really good at, which is going and bringing inventory very quickly, very accurately to an associate who does what they're very good at. We let the human do what they're good at, which is doing the picking activity. We can track with our software every interaction where a particular parcel has been either during the delivery process or which associate has handled it. So should we find an associate that is infected, we can disinfect the inventory, but we can also segregate the inventory that's in process. Additionally, the labor scarcity is really an issue just in general with the pandemic, et cetera. But even in general in these markets, these aren't really the most glamorous jobs, and it's hard to keep employees from absenteeism and attrition, et cetera. Our systems are very efficient in that we gamify the picking operation, so it's much easier to keep happy employees. They feel safe because they're very easy to social distance. It's very easy for a warehouse to control social distancing as a policy, which you really can't do in a traditional warehouse or factory where you've got a lot of crossing of humans.
No, that's perfect. And so I think that's super great. And another point I wanted to say is that recently Geek Plus was top ranked for all of the warehousing automation in manufacturing and warehousing. So I have to say congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
And so another critical area of impact, especially in the supply chains and business processes, is delivering the last mile. So, Larry, delivering a perfect order on time and in full has tremendous implications in customer experience and satisfaction. And FireEye has a vision to use aggregated data and real-time feedback to drive this on-time, real-time visibility in logistics and in supply chain. So can you expand on how the solutions that your company has is enabling to drive more resiliency across supply chains for different industries?
Yeah, absolutely, Yuri, and I think that this flow is really quite perfect with 09 at the higher level of planning and impact, and what's going to end up getting to that end customer eventually, and Mark with Geek Plus, of optimizing that management in those distribution centers, those warehouse centers, et cetera. And where FireEye comes into play is how do we end up ensuring that those goods are going to get delivered on time to that end customer? You asked about a critical shift with COVID, and certainly during this time, the inbound logistics focus, has always been there, and that's been escalated even higher. But what's been a new shift is manufacturers now taking more of a focus on how do we manage and how do we implement a great customer experience to that end customer. A lot of manufacturers were relying upon retailers, and obviously COVID has completely disrupted that process. And now retailers are really saying, hey, how do I take back control of my customers, and maybe now looking at a true omni-channel solution? And where FireEye comes in and helps them out is to say, hey, how do we end up giving that visibility if they're using a third-party supplier, or if they're using their own solution or controlling their own deliveries, and making sure that the end customer is getting the right choice that they want. So that's really how we're augmenting and helping out in this entire process.
Terrific. I really get so excited about hearing all of these amazing capabilities you all have. So I'm sure the audience also, probably they're super excited that, what can they do to even do more. So thank you again for being here and then describing what your companies are doing. So with that in mind, I think that is also important to highlight some of the customer examples to lead the audience with something in mind. What should they expect, if they were to really consider implementing these awesome solutions? So, Mark, let's start with you. What customer example comes to mind on what was the challenge, the context, and what impact was driven when you delivered the solutions that Geek Plus has in place?
Yeah, we work with a variety of manufacturers around the world. I'll cite one, not by name, but it's a top electronics manufacturer with over 1.2 million employees. We operate within their network of factories around the world, primarily to reduce labor and improve accuracy. So we're doing a variety of things for them. We operate, for example, in different plants, we can operate moving inventory from the inventory field to work in process. We move work in process to finished goods. And this eliminates the labor that has to basically, we call them water sputters, right? So you've now eliminated a lot of labor that's just sort of non-value added. We're just moving things. Scheduling might be a problem, so it can hold up productivity. We provide a high degree of accuracy to not only the inventory management, but the actual workflow within the plant. Our other platforms within this same space actually are involved in the manufacturing process. So we may be bringing a good on a nested pallet to an operator station, but the operator is not a human, right? So it's actually a 6-axis robot that we're running that's doing a screwing operation. So we can assemble things together. And this can operate entirely on our software platform. So our software platform is end-to-end. We can do everything from WS, WMS, LMS, TMS, all of this to operate not only our robots and manage the inventory, but also other robots within the system, like 6-axis robots that are operating on a vision system, conveyors, all of this. ultimately, the net result is ROI, right? So our ROI is almost always less than 2 years, sometimes less than 14 months. And we're basically achieving that, obviously, by labor elimination as well as accuracy and predictability. The unsung hero here is all of the data that we provide to the operator themselves. So there's a lot of data flowing from our system. Since it's an automated system, we have a lot of sensor data that's happening and that's actually on the device. We consider the robots to be IoT devices. So we harvest a lot of data from those robots, and it goes into the system for the benefit of the customer, who then has a dashboard and a control tower that they can use to further optimize their systems from these learnings. As we control more and more of that factory floor, we automatically optimize that ourselves. So that's really sort of, I guess, the use case. And we do operate, very thankfully, in the Microsoft Azure platform, which provides our clients a high degree of security, because nobody's very comfortable with just putting their data in the cloud unless it's on a secure platform like Azure.
I think, and that's such a critical point. One of most of our customers really put heavy focus on security and the security layer. Thank you for highlighting that. Stefan, let's go to you. So what customer example comes to mind that you want to highlight here for the audience?
No, absolutely. I think especially in the discrete manufacturing industry, it could be a couple. Data Wires, it could be Schaeffler, which is a large supplier to the automotive OEMs, or GE Renewable Energy, who is making the big blades for the offshore windmills. And I think all of them have the same business problem, right? The forecast accuracy is poor. Why is it poor? Because they are only looking at lagging indicators of demand. Then they do not have a full digital twin of the supply chain, so they don't know where the constraints are, what the cost of service. And then, when there is a disruption in the supply chain, all of a sudden there is panic. Service levels are under pressure, inventories are on the rise, and cost is actually increasing. So how to solve for that is first on the demand side, looking to what are the leading indicators of demand. So not just history, but hey, can I pull in the opportunity pipeline of my sales organization? What about some of the macro trends? What drives the demand of the customer, of my customer, and so forth? So put that in, get to a much more accurate demand signal, then build that digital twin of the supply chain where we have the ability to model the cost and the constraints all the way from a DC to a factory to an inbound DC to tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 supplier. So having the ability to do that, and then making sure that demand and supply is synchronized, faster response to the disruptions, and then translating that in financial impact. So in terms of business results, what we have seen is obviously driving those kind of capabilities has a positive impact on service level, reduces inventory, but we also see a steep decrease in what we call non-standard cost, right? Less expedites, less flex capacity in factories, less alternate sourcing cost, and so forth. So those are a couple of examples that come to mind.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Stefan, for highlighting that. And that's really such a terrific example. So thank you. Of course, the last mile, Larry. So if I had a company, I would definitely bet on all the capabilities that allow me to really have the visibility now. More than ever before, it's so important to know when your package arrives at your destination, when your customer has this package in their hands. So tell me what customer example you feel most proud about in, again, the impact in the context of this customer.
Sure. Thank you very much, Yuri. I think a great example of this as a manufacturer is a global appliance manufacturer, Electrolux. Traditionally, almost all of their product has been fulfilled through retailers, and in this last year, it's retailers it's been chaos. But fortunately, with Electrolux, their planning and their vision is how do we provide end customer experiences, and that can be difficult when you're ending up relying upon a retailer. So their vision is really to say, how can we now give customers, their end customers, true choice of not only how will they end up purchasing the product, but maybe when will they end up receiving the product, and FarEye's there to help them do that. So the customer might want to buy it through the retailer, and that's perfectly fine because that's the most convenient thing for the retailer. Or the end customer might end up saying, "Hey, you know what? I'd like it to be delivered to my home." And in this particular case, with their products, some of those products are simple and they can just be dropped off, but others are quite advanced and they need to be installed, and maybe a previous appliance needs to be removed. And it's our solution that ends up helping across the visibility of all of these different methods, be it using a big supply chain going to retailers, or local deliveries made by technicians that are installing or removing goods. So really, at the end of the day, what we're providing to Electrolux is continuity of communication and experience for their end customer, and then enhancing that customer experience. So after the event, we're also evaluating or allowing those customers to rate how was that experience. So Electrolux can then continue to just improve on top of that again and again and again. So at the end of the day, we're all about customer experience, but we also end up reducing significant costs in this entire process. One last item here, and Mark mentioned it, many of our customers, are relying upon us with Microsoft Azure for security, but also scalability. So as companies are scaling up and down in these different cycles, having that background and partnership with Microsoft Azure is very, very important for us.
Oh, that's terrific to hear. Thank you, Larry, for sharing. So on final thoughts, let's go around the table in 30 seconds or less. What would be the last call to action for the audience? So Mark, let's start with you.
I think you've assembled a pretty interesting panel here. You've got, the front end, the order signal to the factory, then you've got in the factory, and then you've got on the other end, out the factory to the customer. So kudos on assembling a great panel. The call to action really here is the world has become, as a result of COVID, we've exposed a lot of the unpredictability. It's really been amplified. And operations really needs the tools to support that. And what you're hearing here is it's all data, right? So even us as a Geek Plus, as a really sort of a hardware centric, or at least on the outside, we look like a hardware company with robots. And what we provide is a tremendous amount of operational data. That operational data allows factories and warehouses to really respond crisply to the huge variation we now see between nominal and peak demand. And the new peak is what our, the new nominal is our old peak. So now we really need to adjust for a crazy peak. So that operational flexibility, I think, is what comes out of this. And that's my take on all of this.
Perfect. Thank you. That's really awesome. Larry.
I completely agree with Mark's comments and endorse Stephen's predictability of the future. I think at the end of the day, when we link all of this together, it's also all about customer satisfaction. And so what we can do by working together is we can continue to be engaged with that end customer, help our customers build their customer satisfaction in the end of the day. And a lot of that is data driven. When you have that data, then you can make that impact. So thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this panel, Yuri.
Absolutely. And thank you, Larry, also for joining us. And then Stefan, what's your take?
Yeah, I think the key takeaway is also for customers and for big organizations to take actions. Yes, there are concerns around, do I have enough data? What about change management, process management, and so forth? But ultimately, it's about, starting, exploring what digital transformation can do for you. And I think that we are now seeing a lot of examples where companies are actually accelerating their digital transformation journey, piloting actually the different capabilities, realizing the value quickly, and then from there, scaling that. And I think that's a clear message that a digital transformation is not a 5-year program. It's something that you can start today and can drive value much faster than you might have been used to, given some of the experiences in the past. So go do it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that awesome closing there. So thank you all for joining. This is fantastic to really share this panel again with each of you. So for the audience, as you heard, there are many elements, whether they are internal, whether they are external, that are disrupting supply chains. As a result, the focus should really be about anticipating those market changes and activating more dynamic collaboration, automated operations, and also intelligent logistics to enable fast and effective decision-making. And of course, while delivering superior customer experience at all times. Digital innovation is closing the gap, allowing manufacturers to achieve more resilience in their supply chain by enabling faster response and recovery, as well as accurate anticipation of market dynamics. So as we discuss in this panel, focusing on enhancing end-to-end internal processes and operations with cutting-edge technology can really better mitigate those risks in the supply chain and avoid disruption while creating value. At Microsoft, we are here at the forefront of accelerating this digital transformation. As you heard, we really have the wonderful partner ecosystem and first-party capabilities to create more resilient supply chains. So to learn more about our technology and manufacturing solutions, I encourage you to visit our most recent announcement for Cloud for Manufacturing, and also feel free to contact our partners or Microsoft to learn more about. Thank you so much.